Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today, as this is a Monday podcast episode where we discuss a particular theme or topic. And today we are blending together the significant astrological energies of our times with the big shifts in the human design system that are occurring in 2027 and beyond. And I'm going to share with you some of these overarching high-level themes that are uploading now and coming into our awareness that are related to both the astrology and the human design energies, which signify we are entering a whole new era, a brand new path, and new experiences of ourselves and of the world that are important to know sooner rather than later. So this is essentially highlighting what to be aware of as we move into 2027 and beyond, because you're going to be seeing and experiencing more and more of these shifts internally and externally. And by noticing that they're happening and observing them, you're also going to come into deeper understanding of what needs to change in your own life, what you need to approach in a new way that is in alignment with these energies, as well as how to make plans accordingly, adjust your expectations, and be ready for even more of these new frequencies to be ones you consciously work with, not against. So I'm going to start with the high-level understandings of what's going on with the astrological transits, specifically, of course, the outer planets, as well as the nodes of fate. So let's start with Pluto in Aquarius, which we have been talking about for a few years now, as Pluto entered Aquarius in 2024 and will remain in this sign until 2044. This means that Pluto is spending more time in Aquarius, moving slower, taking more time to move back and forth between each degree point, and bringing about greater intensity, evolution, and transformation in the Aquarius areas of your chart. This means we really have to do that deep inner work that Pluto in Aquarius is requiring of us. And it certainly is working with our own perceptions, vision, and life direction. Now, Aquarius is fixed air, so it's about what you have set your sights on that you're realizing has to change, has to look different, and be more aware of these incoming power changes within community, collective systems, networks, technology, and advancements that are happening at a much faster pace. Now, Pluto is about power. It's about how you feel empowered during these big shifts and changes. And there can certainly be a lack of empowerment as we move into this new terrain and figure out, where do I belong? What do I need? And what is aligned with my authentic self? So Pluto in Aquarius is actually about moving power from those who have always had it into the individual, the communities, and the collective field. And Pluto was previously in Capricorn, which was about those who had experience, responsibility, expertise, and control. Now, Pluto in Aquarius is bringing deeper questions about personal empowerment to the individual and how you feel authentic amongst all of this AI or these technology changes, how individuals now have unprecedented access to information, tools, knowledge, wisdom, communities, platforms, everything on your phone, everything on a screen. But doesn't that also feel a little bit hollow, where we need to be in connection and in community with each other? We need the aura to aura exchange and the one-on-one even more. And so Pluto in Aquarius is bringing to our attention new choices to make around what is best for your authentic self amongst all of these very powerful and advancing areas of life that can seem absolutely out of control at times. How do you remain empowered at a core level? Then I want to bring in the energy of Uranus and Gemini, because Gemini is also an air sign, and Uranus is trining this Pluto in Aquarius into 2029. And so Uranus in Gemini is stirring up how we think, perceive, and make choices. It's bringing about new options, new possibilities, new things to consider that we just didn't see before. But Uranus is the disruptor. It's the awakener, and it's the liberator. And so it's showing us the old ways we've been living and existing, and bringing in new ways of approaching communications, learning, exchange, information that matters. It's actually speeding up our brains, our neurological process as well, where maybe you can't focus for too long on certain things. Maybe you can only watch a TikTok video, and that's your brain adapting to this new pace of life and the media on the screen that's in front of you. Uranus and Gemini is bringing up the power of the mind and how we are choosing to use our brains, again, amongst all of these technologies, advancements, new options, new choices. So Uranus in Gemini trining Pluto in Aquarius opens up the whole world to us, opens up more people, places, experiences, topics, content, etc. But is that really good for us? Is it overexposure and too much stimuli? Is it overwhelm that occurs more rapidly? And so we have to look at, well, what is best for me, my energy, my brain? What supports my mind, my voice, what I want to learn and understand? And how much is it dulling our intuition, our ability to trust what we feel, to be heart-based, empathetic, loving, kind? And so we're being presented with new choices around what we're tuning into, and whether or not it's enhancing the human experience or dulling some of our strengths and capabilities. Then we also bring in the influence of Neptune in Aries. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, cardinal fire, that signifies a new spiritual identity is being developed as Neptune moves through Aries until 2039. Oh, I forgot to mention that Uranus is in Gemini until 2033. So all of these energies I'm touching on go into the next decade. So Neptune in Aries is where we are newly discovering who we are within this new world of energies and potentials, and also to be more discerning around what we're leaving behind and dissolving. There's always an element of transcendence with Neptune as you rise above the old and have the courage to enter into a new self-concept that strengthens your sovereignty, your authenticity, your courage. It also brings up how you are choosing yourself and that self-leadership component that maybe you have become disconnected from or didn't even know was an option. Neptune in Aries, in one of its highest expressions, is dissolving away what is no longer authentically you, what is no longer in alignment with your intuition, your spiritual abilities, and your creativity. So here we have this Neptune in Aries that says, don't lose that amongst all these other technologies and intelligence-based expressions. Be sure that you're also developing your intuition, creativity, imagination, artistic self, that you're following what brings you life and what feeds you without abandoning that for other things that might look instantly engaging or highly stimulating. So the Neptune in Aries wants you to remain connected to your humanness and what makes you you. So we take into consideration that all three of these outer planets are guiding us into new areas of understanding our authenticity and how we're choosing to be ourselves in a whole new way during a time of drastic change and acceleration of information, ideas, communications, and advancements on the planet. Additionally, we can bring in the nodes of fate, which have just moved into Aquarius and Leo. That North Node in Aquarius is guiding us to see ourselves in a new way based on our unique gifts, contributions, and innovations. This is the energy of collaboration, community, equality, future thinking, and greater independence that is asking us to increase our focus in these themes, since that North Node in Aquarius is going to open up new pathways and fated developments for us to enter into that involve new people, new dreams, new understandings of what you're here to do in this life. And conversely, the South Node in Leo is exposing our outdated attachments to what was, to what we previously created or were connected to. This could also be revealing where you've been reliant upon external validation, attention, needing to be personally recognized. There could be an understanding of where you thought you had to look a certain way or be a certain version of yourself in order to be seen and loved. And so maybe it reveals some of those false masks or anything performative around, I thought I had to look like this or be this way in order to be seen and loved. But I'm understanding that not only does that not work and it's not even authentic, but it isn't even in alignment with my highest and truest path at this time, which is expanding me into a greater understanding of my soul gifts, my soul purpose, and what really lights me up now. So when we take into consideration these particular astrological shifts, there are some big themes that emerge that are also evident in where the human design cycles are guiding us forward. The human design system is in a very pivotal time of change as a brand new 400-year cycle begins in 2027. That's a big deal. To know that we are starting a brand new 400-year cycle that also signifies the previous 400-year plus cycle is ending. And that previous cycle started in 1615. Since 1615, we have been in the cross of planning, which is the energy of establishing structures, institutions, hierarchy, and social contracts with each other where we all get on the same page around what we're planning and doing together. It had the themes of let's all work together as a team on the same page, within the same company, within the same group, to support the tribe, to create security and establish what we can all do together. We'll all be under the same company, the same institution, or collective agreement around what matters, what's important, what you create that works for something bigger than you. It's been the energy of give your expertise, time, energy, and knowledge to the company, and the company will take care of you. The company will give you a salary and a 401k. You'll be connected to all these people. You'll have access to this, that, and the other thing, including casual dress Fridays. Be a part of us, and it will mean something. You'll be connected to a bigger picture endeavor, and you'll have that safety and security of being within the umbrella of this organization, this network, this team, this collective experience. But as we move into this new 400-year era that officially starts in February 2027, we are moving into a new era, away from the era that focused on generator values. Generators, including manifesting generators and emotional manifesting generators, are the builders, the workers, the ones who have a lot of energy to contribute, who seek to be a part of something and use their energy in productive, satisfying ways. This is important to note because we've all been conditioned to be generators. It's the energy of the 9 to 5, of the Industrial Revolution, of you get up and you work and you get things done every day. You need to be productive. You need to show up and be accountable. You need to use everything you learned in your education in some capacity that contributes to the world, to a company, to a business, to your life. And the generator energy required us to keep showing up, to keep putting in the time, energy, and effort to produce something. And then when you take a vacation, you have guilt or worry because you know your inbox is going to be full of all these messages and things you need to catch up on and figure out. And then you wonder, why did I even take a vacation? Because I really don't get a break. There's still work I have to do. I can't fall behind. I can't just disappear off the grid. The generator values have been about being productive, contributing members of society and having something useful to do every day, with the promise or even the guarantee that there will be rewards for that. The company will give you a raise. You will get a title. You will be able to buy that house you've always wanted. You will live a good life because you're working hard and you are going to be recognized for that hard work. This has been a dominant collective theme that has been a part of many countries, cultures, and modern day environments that we've all known about and experienced and grew up in some extent. I realize this could be something that is attributed mostly to Western civilization or to some specific countries and regions. So I'm approaching this from a very high level viewpoint, but there is an important shift happening that is already underway. And although it is timed and tracked to begin in February 2027, the truth is we've already been in this energy since 2020. And so we've been undergoing a gradual shift away from where we placed our energy, what we gave importance to, and understanding what is really me, what is really worth my time, energy, and effort. Is this how I want to spend my days? Is this good for me, for my family, and for my energy? So we've had many questions that we've been faced with since 2020. And now as 2027 approaches, and we're aware that these global frequencies are changing, at least if you track these energies, you're aware of them. We enter into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is also the era of the individual, where there is now greater focus on the individual and your uniqueness, what is best for your energy and what you're here to uniquely contribute, that is not meant to be for the gain of a company or institution, that is meant to be something you stand strong in and allow yourself to build a life based on your unique energy. And so that sounds wonderful, exciting, perhaps even highly idealistic, because what about job security? What about your paycheck? What about the life you've already created for yourself? How do you maintain that? How do you move into, for example, a new occupation or professional endeavor when you have very real financial responsibilities that you have to tend to and take care of? And so these are some of the very big and real questions that are coming up and will continue to arise for millions of people as we change eras. We have been in that era of planning that has wanted you to feel secure in what you contribute to. Within that, there have been various systems that have succeeded. Retirement systems, 5-year planning goals, long-term institutions, maybe Social Security comes to mind. All structures of hierarchy have been strengthened within that system, including within religion, military structures, corporations, nation states. There have also been areas of life that have been formulated based on certain collective understandings of family, the nuclear family, marriage, partnerships, and how your identity and your goals were meant to adjust to these themes and an assumed way of living life, meaning if you made this choice, if you subscribed to this belief system, or you planned your life to go in a certain direction because that was the direction that would lead to happiness. You were planning for happiness, planning for security, planning for certain rewards and life milestones. Again, the cross of planning. What were you planning for? Because the future was going to bring you those results or pay off in a way that is valuable to you. And now all of that is changing. And it's changing as we move into the era of the individual, which has new themes, new manifestations, and new values associated with it. And keep in mind, this changeover in the themes doesn't happen overnight. In fact, it can be quite gradual, especially with energies that have been built on the previous themes. They will be the slowest to evolve and shift, but they will also be the least supported. They will have less options available to them because they are going to be the dinosaurs that are fading out and dying off as the new themes arrive with incoming strength and force. So the new themes are about the era of the individual, which is about projector themes. And the projector is a very different kind of energy than the generator. The projector is about guiding. It's about supporting people in determining their best direction and their best next choice. The projector is one who asks you to consider your own answers based on your energy. A projector will guide you into yourself to hear your answers, understand your talents, and essentially know your energy more. So now we have a redirect where the focus isn't on the future, the focus isn't on the company or the other. The focus is on you and who are you and what do you want and what is best for your energy. So now it's about prioritizing your individual energy, which is going to set you apart from the person to your left and the person to your right. It's basically going to make you more self-aware of what is correct for you at an energetic level that maybe you're realizing for the first time in your life. And so this is part of the next level spiritual awakening that occurs as we enter into the era of the individual, also known as the cross of the sleeping phoenix, where the sleeping phoenix needs to awaken. It awakens to itself, its strengths, its needs, its abilities. It awakens to choosing oneself and prioritizing who you are and trusting that energy as where you now live from. And it also shifts very strongly a focus on the mind into the body and into your full energy expression, where the mind is not tasked with planning, as has been the case. But now the mind is meant to trust what is correct for your energy as your inner energetic brilliance comes alive and awakens at a whole new level. This is personal for each individual. This is something that we each have to practice in terms of experimentation and self-verification. On a personal note, I had my first human design reading back in 2014. And it was one of those serendipitous events that I didn't know that's actually what I was going to be receiving that day. But I had a session about my human design and I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And it was also basically telling me that how I was approaching life was not in my innate natural design. Now, I'm a projector, and of course, I had been living as a generator. And so I was introduced to what I needed to do differently, what wasn't going to work for me, what would be beneficial for me, and all the ways to practice it. And I said, no, thank you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that makes sense. And so I actually did not fully enter into my experience of human design until about 2 years later. And by then I had a mentor who is the same projector type that I am. And she was able to guide me because I did need some hand holding around how to do things differently. And it was the best thing that's happened in my personal life, in my professional life, and in my self-understanding overall. So in addition to astrology, human design has brought in even more understanding of how my energy is here to be experienced, appreciated, and lived, that you can only verify for yourself. And so I have found so much value in human design, and it's through the deconditioning that you fully enter into more of the experiment. Of course, there's a lot of videos on YouTube about this. There's a lot more out there that's free and available to you if you want to do a deep dive into your human design chart and your type and energies. And it offers another way of understanding your energy and also how you are different, because it is the mechanics of differentiation. And so as we move into 2027, it's more important than ever to know more of your core energy. And we're moving into, again, the values and themes of the projector, which means that all of us are undergoing a deconditioning and deprogramming at a core level around how we've been using our energy, if it is still paying off and true for us. And we all are going to need to be adapting to the new ways of using our gifts, our talents, and being in our purpose in 2027 and beyond. And so we take this grand cycle, the era of the individual, and we see how it actually aligns so beautifully with the bigger astrological themes that are already underway. And so this brings in new areas of life focus that we each have to be aware of, because there are areas of life we have taken for granted and we assumed would always be there that will not, that will be dismantling, decaying, and completing, because they are, again, not supported anymore as we move into this new cycle. And so this brings up a lot around professional skills, around what you do every day to make a living, get a paycheck, support your family, and take care of your responsibilities. And these are some of the biggest areas that people are figuring out right now. Now, the most obvious example of these changes are related to how companies, industries, and nearly every area of our life is changing because of AI, advancing technologies, new ways of implementing these technologies into our daily experiences, and the importance we're placing on them that challenges human contributions, human intelligence, and human skills. These new technologies have disrupted long-term planning and security at any one company or within any particular profession. This relates to that Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini energies, but it also has the potential to redirect us into the best of our human capabilities, into how we can enjoy our lives more by not being the working 9-to-5 robots who thought we had to be productive and industrious every hour of the day. There's a shift in how we can approach each day and every week. There's an overall change in how to use our energy, but it's individual based. So for example, you can't listen to me on this podcast and expect me to give you your answer, because the shift is to your own internal authority, your own self-knowingness, your own answers that only you can discover and find for yourself. And so here we are experiencing a shift away from external authority into inner authority, where we're no longer looking for others to give us permission, validation, or answers. It's now something that is based on knowing ourselves. And so instead of being focused on what am I supposed to do or what is the best answer, well, now you have to ask a different question, such as what is true for me and aligned with my energy? And that'll be based on your own lived experience, your own inner knowing, intuition, and how your energy works, the mechanics of your energy. We're also moving into a time when your individuality is an asset. It's an asset instead of something to hide or overcome. These are now the qualities that once made you feel different are the same qualities that make you valuable. And it's no longer about fitting into established identities or trying to match up with that one job title and looking to see if your years of experience align with those responsibilities. No, this is about now building your life around your unique gifts, interests, experiences, and how your being different is the contribution. And so we can see right away that this is an example of how the traditional companies, institutions, and structures are no longer supportive or valued because they're not made to value the individual. They're made so that the individual fits in to what they need, to what needs to be completed and the tasks that need to be performed. But think about how that's already changing as some of them integrate more of the AI capabilities, and then you get to be free to be in more of your individual energetic expression and talents. Now, that isn't always exciting at first. It brings up a lot of fears around finances, having a job, and security. Very real, very real. So I'm not trying to gloss over this, because even though we all love our unicorns, we know we have very real things we have to tend to, and we have very real lives that we're responsible for. And so part of the change here is that we're moving from following the systems into creating our own structures. And that isn't meant to be too overwhelming. Rather, it's meant to be creative and passion driven. It's meant to be something that brings you more life. So the traditional models of career, education, business, and success are going to look different. It's going to look different to you at a personal level than it does to me. It's going to look different to other members of your family than it does to you. But you have more tools, more options, and more resources than ever before to create a structure that aligns with your energy. I mean, think about how, going back to AI and these new technologies, they bring in more capabilities, more tools, and more information that you have access to, that any person off the street has access to, that used to require an entire organization. You don't need a full-time staff to handle a bunch of things for you anymore. You now have access to new solutions, new approaches, and a very wide knowledge base for whatever you need to do. And so then let's look at that a bit more because of the fact that just anyone off the street can access all kinds of information, any kinds of data or facts and knowledge, there's less gatekeepers. And when there's less gatekeepers, that commodity becomes less valuable. So the fact that people can have access to everything means that we all can know everything, which I think is interesting because then it means that we are the artificial intelligence. Because if you're spouting off facts and data and information that you're just reading about, you don't have experience in, that is something that we can pick up on. So there's one thing to read it off the phone, to access AI, and all of a sudden show up as an expert on something. But what we now are going to value even more is not that information. We're going to value experience. We're going to value knowing who we are, knowing our individual energy, knowing what we're good at, and also being honest about what we're not good at, what you don't value, what you don't want to do. And this also leads you down the path of knowing how to synthesize it into what only you can bring forward in your unique way, which requires courage, confidence, self-leadership, which requires you to trust yourself. This is that Neptune in Aries of a rebirth that aligns with more of your intuition and spiritual gifts as it dissolves away the old versions of self and who you were conditioned to be within the cross of planning. And so then we pull in these tools that we have: astrology, human design, your healing journey, shadow work, inner child healing, all past experiences and previous experiences that are forming and shaping you in your ongoing ascension and consciousness journey. And this is where you're able to recognize your individual energetic blueprint more. And that is a theme of the projectors, is being recognized and invited to be more of yourself, to look for those environments, networks, and connections that see the value you bring to the table, which means there are less options, less things that will align. But when they do, they are beautifully supportive of who you are. So we become more particular in this new era. We are more discerning, especially because it's not your first rodeo and you've learned some things along the way, and you will know more precisely what is best for you and what is not. But this is now prioritizing your energy before the environment, the other, the company, or the outcome. This means being open to the outcomes and to what you don't know and don't see, instead of being heavily fixated on what you think it should be or what you're planning for. And so obviously, this is going to bring up challenges. This is our next growth cycle, and it's a new area of understanding ourselves and how our energy is designed. And so the best thing you can do is live your individual design and understand how the astrological cycles of right now support that, support how humans are here to know ourselves better and to be wiser around our energetic design. And that is our value, amongst many other things that make us valuable. But it is a grand shift in the global frequencies. And keep in mind that as this begins in 2027, Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix, also known as the Era of the Individual, it lasts until 2439. So 412-year cycle. Who knows how many lifetimes you will have in this energy field. But keep in mind, you might also be deconditioning from many lifetimes in the previous cycle. Again, that was 1615 until 2027. And so these high-level changes are going to be working with all of us and affecting each of us. Now, I have been living my human design since 2016, 2017. It has not been easy. It's been very challenging at times to decondition from the generator values into my own true frequency as a projector. But it's how I've built my business. It's how I live my life. It has been a very grounding support system of my truth. There have been way more benefits to living my design than not. I feel freedom. I feel peace. I feel calm. I feel trust. I know that if it's not for me, it won't appear. If it is for me, it will appear. I know that it's important to follow the fractals that show up, which are the energetic pathways that connect me to certain people, opportunities, and choices. And one of the themes of the human design system is that there's nothing to do. And so think about how that works against our humanness when we think we have to do a lot. We have to make it happen. We have to get it done. But when you ease into more of your innate design, there is more flow and peace and openness. There is more trust in the systems that are always working around us and within us. There's less stress, less worry. That takes time though. Like that's a muscle you have to develop and build because it doesn't just happen overnight. In fact, a lot of these personal changes in your own experiment and practice are slow moving. They are slow and gradual. They are not overnight. And that can be challenging, especially for manifesting generators who are all about do, go, go, choose, choose, choose. I think of manifesting generators as the ones at the very front of the sushi conveyor belt. You know, the restaurants where they have the sushi going around on the conveyor belts. And it's the manifesting generator who takes every plate and says, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. They have all the plates in front of them. They take a bite of each thing and then realize I'm not even full. I'm not satisfied. This isn't what I wanted. but I sampled it all. And so this is a refinement in the energies for manifesting generators and generators, where you have to be clearer in what you're choosing and what you're taking off of that sushi conveyor belt, because you have to know yourself and what really brings you good nutrition, what's truly satisfying, and what you really want. So manifesting generators are going to feel a slowdown in what you're choosing and why. Generators are going to start to sense where they're not satisfied anymore and they need something or some way to use all their energy and to feel content and productive and good. Manifestors are the only type who don't have to wait. And so manifestors could have a sense of, well, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to see what happens and see how people respond to me. And there's going to be a shift in how you feel your energy, because people are going to be holding back more and they're going to be observing more, and they might not give you that full yes or full validation right away. And so you're going to learn to temper your energy and understand it's not personal, but the collective frequency is changing in a way that people aren't going to jump in and give you something as quickly as they used to. Reflectors are ones who have all the open centers, and reflectors are typically meant to wait before making a clear decision or choice, simply because they pick up on everything. And reflectors are these beautiful observers, and they're going to have new things to share and offer that only they see and understand, because they're feeling all these shifts and changes. And so reflectors, I think, are going to have some new wisdom to offer back around how to work with these changes and how to be open to the shifts, because the reflector is so open. They are the energy that transcends the calendar, the ones who don't respond or get back to you, the ones who are in their own world, taking their own sweet time, because that's how they're designed to live. And so reflectors are going to be feeling a deep change in the collective environment around priorities and what they need to do versus what they don't need to do. And then we have the projector, of which there are 5 different types of projectors who are all very different from each other, even though they're all projectors. They have 5 distinct authorities, which means they have different decision-making styles. So you have the emotional projector, the splenic projector, a self-projected projector, an ego-based projector, and a mental projector. And so these are the 5 types of projectors that are going to be called forward to guide people to know themselves more, to understand more of your energy, your needs, your talents, your purpose. It is the rise of the projector into guiding the masses to their inner truth and knowingness. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I've touched on this off and on recently, and it has been something that has continued to come up in various conversations and exchanges. So I listened to your request to have more support and guidance for this shift, and I am going to be offering 2 in-person weekend retreats to assist you in integrating and blending your astrology chart and your human design energies to create your professional path in this new era. I know it's overwhelming. I totally get it. And that's why I have to share with you that this is how I've been living my business for over 10 years now. And I can verify that it works. And I want to help more of you make this shift and understand these answers for yourself. So there are going to be 2 weekend events in October over 3 days where we go through very important topics around your professional direction and what that really looks like for you. So here are the details. The first one will be in San Diego, California, October 2nd. That's Friday, October 2nd to Sunday, October 4th. The second one will be on the East Coast in Orlando, Florida, starting on Friday, October 16th until Sunday, October 18th. There will be 8 workshops. There will also be a focus on connections, community building, and networking. That's why it's in person as well. so that you can meet others who perhaps are going to be complementary to what you're doing. This is great for word of mouth between clients, as well as ongoing friendships and professional connections. Both retreats are being held in October to give you time to make the necessary changes, because you will have to be open to changing your approach, making changes in your business, seeing things in a new way, etc., in order to be adaptable to these incoming changes. This is a more business-focused retreat that is going to help you formulate your professional pathway by looking at your revenue ecosystem, your visibility pathways, building community your way, understanding what you uniquely offer, knowing how to grow and expand your business, and how to consciously integrate AI so that it works for you, you don't work for it, but it is important to bring that into our conversation. Now, because of this wide range of information, it's important that you're able to interpret your chart. So that means it's not for beginners. You need to already know your astrology chart and your human design. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be advanced, but you have to have a baseline understanding of your astrology chart and of human design in order to get the most out of this. So if any of this sounds good to you, if all of this sounds good to you, please check out the link below where you can find more specifics about this retreat. It's called your Cosmic Life Accelerator. And this is where I will assist you in putting together your two distinct energy systems, right? Because your astrology and your human design charts can seem contradictory, can seem like, how do these even match up? How do these work together? Well, I'll show you and we'll discuss that. And you will leave with a game plan and with an understanding of what to take forward. So please note that you can also sign up for this with a payment plan, but that is only available until the end of August. So I hope you can join me in either San Diego or Orlando in October. There are limited spots for each of these retreats, but I'm so excited to dive into this information so you can have more certainty and understanding of what is true for you in the era of the individual. So again, I'll put the link below the podcast here in the description box. And as always, thank you so much for joining me for today's podcast. I'll be back on Wednesday with a new episode where we talk about the astrology of the week ahead. Wishing you a beautiful day ahead wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you back here soon.